Jane Hirshfield is the author of seven collections of poetry, including the newly published Come Thief. She's the winner of numerous awards and honors, including the 70th Academy Fellowship for Distinguished Poetic Achievement by the Academy of American Poets. Her poems have been described as evidencing the grasp of a master and filled with somber, judiciously lit treasures. This is work which distills the nature of observation, of complete attention into a gift, the richness of spareness. Contemplative, earthy and soulful, sensual and metaphysical, Hirshfield's poetics are informed but not subsumed by her long-held practice of Zen. Under the wooden table and lifted stones, she offers us coffee cups, olives, cheeses, hunger, sorrow, fears. She locates us in our bodies, alive, susceptible, infused with ripeness. When tasting wine or poetry, this work continually reminds us to pay attention closely and give yourself fully.
That's a great descriptor of Jane's works. I fell in love with the poems I read of hers, and to be really honest, they really transformed me. I had a comparative with one of the poems too, and it was just to Van Gogh's still pictures of fruit and vegetables. Like, you could reach out and you could go right into that piece of canvas and take it out and start chewing on that fabulous piece of banana or that mango. And it's the same thing with Jane's works. It's so sensual that you want to be close to her when she's reading that, and we just happen to be able to do that tonight, so that's an awesome thing. She is the soulful Zen mother, and she's got the soul, that's for sure. So I had to bring a wine that's got soul too. So this is a great wine. This is Imagery Estate. This is in Sonoma County, 2009 vintage. This is what we call white Burgundy. And it's an interesting name for this wine because, to be really honest, if you call it a Burgundy, it has to be from Burgundy, which is the great region of France where Pinot Noir and Chardonnay were really started. And the interesting thing about this wine is Imagery Estate is owned by the Benzinger family. The Benzinger family is one of the great farming families of the Northern California area because they believe in organics. They believe in biodynamics. They go beyond what it's called for. Sustainability in the vineyards, that's one thing. They're going to go further than that. They're going to use all the powers they can to use nature and to give back to nature as much as they can. So when they did some research on Burgundy, they realized that Chardonnay is not the only white grape that's allowed to grow there. There's actually some other ones. And so this is not 100% Chardonnay. There's a little teeny bit of Pinot Blanc in here, and there's a little bit of Viognier in here too. So this is a fantastic blend, but it really has that soul. It has that little touch of butterscotch, but it's a butterscotch that was handmade. It's got that creaminess, that texture, that sensual experience, and it is a complete sensory experience right here when we're going to listen to Jane's fabulous poems, and we're going to drink this fabulous wine with them. So, Jane.
Wow. What an amazing event. This is amazing. Every part of it. Thank you so much, Team Flight of Poets. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you, fellow readers. So I thought it would be only fair to you all if I read mostly the same set of poems that I had picked out to give to Chris in the first place. But it turned out they were too short for the time slot that we're supposed to fill, so I'm adding a couple. And I took my task terribly literally. I decided that, since wines are usually paired with foods. I sent him most of the poems had some food reference or other in them, as does this first one, but he didn't see this one because it's earlier. Everything I sent him was from the new book. But this one just seemed particularly appropriate for today. It's called The Heat of Autumn. The heat of autumn is different from the heat of summer. One ripens apples, the other turns them to cider. One is a dock you walk out on, the other the spine of a thin swimming horse, and the river each day a full measure colder. A man with cancer leaves his wife for his lover. Before he goes, she straightens his belts in the closet, rearranges the socks and sweaters inside the dresser by color. That's autumn heat. Her hand placing silver buckles with silver, gold buckles with gold, setting each on the hook it belongs on in a closet soon to be empty, and calling it pleasure. First light edging cirrus. 10 to the 25th molecules are enough to call wood thrush or apple. A hummingbird fewer, a wristwatch, 10 to the 24th. An alphabet's molecules, tasting of honey, iron, and salt, cannot be counted. As some strings, untouched, sound when a near one is speaking. As it was when love slipped inside us, it looked out face to face in every direction. Then it was inside the tree, the rock, the cloud. So all my poems are fact-checked. The 10 to the 25th molecules and the 10 to the 24th were fact-checked by my in-house beloved Carl Pabo, molecular biophysicist, fact-checked by my friends on the Well, and fact-checked by Saul Perlmutter, who got the Nobel in Physics last week. And this next poem also is true. So if any of you don't know the word fining in wine, when you fine a wine, you pass a substance through it which does something to it, which Chris could tell you more about, but the substance then apparently somehow leaves it before we drink it. Red wine is fined by adding broken eggshells. Red wine is fined by adding broken eggshells or bull's blood, but does not taste of the animal traveled through it. Cold leather of fog on the day, then only the day, cleared and simple, whose windows lift equally into what light happens. The dog asks to go out, and you let her. Age rough in her coat as stairs that keep no landing. The familiar is not safety, yet a horse unblinded runs back to the shape it knows burning. This again is an earlier poem, Spell to be said upon departure. What was come here to do having finished, shelves of the water lie flat. Copper the leaves of the doorsill, yellow and falling. Scarlet the bird that is singing. Vanished the labor, here walls are. Completed the asking. Loosing the birds, there is water. Having eaten the pears, having eaten the black figs, the white figs, eaten the apples. Table be strewn with stems, table with peelings of grapefruit and pleasure. Table be strewn with pleasure, what was here to be done having finished. So First Light Edging Cirrus was a love poem This next one is a solitude poem because I don't like anybody to feel left out. Vinegar and oil. Right solitude vinegars the soul. Wrong solitude vinegars the soul. Right solitude oils it. How fragile we are between the few good moments, coming and going unfinished, puzzled by fate, like the half-carved relief of a fallen donkey above a church door in Finland. This is another one I'm adding in for what will soon be obvious reasons. I wrote this when I was at Bellagio, the study center for scholars and artists that the Rockefeller Foundation runs on Lake Como. And they let us, I was there in the fall, and they invited us all to harvest a symbolic cluster or two of grapes. And I kept going because I work. And there was a trustee of the foundation there. And I'm happily working my way down the row, and I hit this, feet and look up at a woman, and not realizing who it was, I said, "It's so great to be doing an honest day's work." And then she looked at me in horror, since I was, after all, there to write poems. Wine grapes for breakfast. Sweet at first on the tongue, hours later, the red grapes still sting, as if trying to tell me something. What the hook tells the fish, perhaps, or the wand or stick hears before conductor or mule driver brings it down. This one Hollie referred to in that wonderful introduction. It is about a small epiphany I had on my window seat with a cottage cheese container, on seeing its expiration date and wondering where mine was. Perishable, it said. Perishable, it said on the plastic container, and below, in different ink, the date to be used by, the last teaspoon consumed. I found myself looking, now at the back of each hand, now inside the knees, now turning over each foot to look at the sole. Then at the leaves of the young tomato plants, then at the arguing jays. Under the wooden table and lifted stones, looking. Coffee cups, olives, cheeses, hunger, sorrow, fears. These too would certainly vanish, without knowing when. How suddenly then the strange happiness took me, like a man with strong hands and strong mouth, inside that hour with its perishing perfumes and clashings. Green-striped melons. They lie under stars in a field. They lie under rain in a field, under sun. Some people are like this as well, like a painting hidden beneath another painting, an unexpected weight, the sign of their ripeness. So I think I only have time for one more, and since I didn't get the Stag's Leap wine, I'm going to skip the Supple Deer poem. Yes, but then I have to skip the other poem. All right.
Yeah, we'll take it.
All right, I'll speed it up a little, like they do with tapes when they're trying to fit it in. Jane, okay. They give me permission to read both. So you can see why this would have gone so well with Stag's Leap, except the sommelier said no.
You're talking about too many white fruits.
Oh, my own fault, of course. Okay. The Supple Deer. The quiet opening between fence strands, perhaps 18 inches. Antlers to hind hooves, 4 feet off the ground, the deer poured through. No tuft of the coarse white belly hair left behind. I don't know how a stag turns into a stream, an arc of water. I have never felt such accurate envy. Not of the deer, to be that porous, to have such largeness pass through me. And the last poem, When Your Life Looks Back. When your life looks back, as it will, at itself, at you, what will it say? Inch of colored ribbon cut from the spool, flame curl, blue consuming the log it flares from, bay leaf, oak leaf, cricket, one among many. Your life will carry you, as it did always, with 10 fingers and both palms, with horizontal ribs and upright spine, with its filling and emptying heart that wanted only your own heart, emptying, filled in return. You gave it. What else could you do? Immersed in air or in water, immersed in hunger or anger, curious even when bored, longing even when running away. What will happen next? The question hinged in your knees, your ankles, in the in-breaths even of weeping. Strongest of magnets, the future impartial drew you in. Whatever direction you turned toward was face to face. No back of the world existed, no unseen corner, no test, no other earth to prepare for. This, your life had said, its only pronoun. Here, your life had said, its only house. Let, your life had said, its only order. And did you have a choice in this? You did. Sleeping and waking, the horses around you, the mountains around you, the buildings with their tall hydraulic shafts, those of your own kind around you. A few times you stood on your head. A few times you chose not to be frightened. A few times you held another beyond any measure. A few times you found yourself held beyond any measure. Mortal, your life will say, as if tasting something delicious, as if in envy. Your immortal life will say this, as it is leaving. Thank you.